While the war in Ukraine has dropped out of the headlines, it would seem that major events are soon to unfold in that conflict. It's time to target just what exactly is going on in the Ukrainian front lines. In the early days following the Russian invasion, no one gave Ukraine a snowball's chance in hell of being able to resist. However, that was February 2022, and more than 15 months later, the Ukrainian armed forces have not only battled the Russians into a stalemate, they are poised to launch a major counterattack. For their part, the Russian military has displayed a level of incompetence never predicted by Western analysts. Their casualties to date have been staggering. According to recently leaked Pentagon documents, the U.S. estimates that Russia has suffered up to 223,000 casualties, of which 43,000 were killed in action. The remainder were either wounded, captured, or deserted. Given that Putin's original invasion force was believed to be 120,000 strong, that's one hell of a lot of casualties. In terms of equipment destroyed, the numbers of tanks and armored vehicles strewn across the battlefield in Ukraine is astronomical. British analysts have calculated that it will take Russian industry at least 10 years to replace the armored fighting vehicles lost to date. And in the meantime, the war continues to grind down the Russian war machine on a daily basis. The armed forces of Ukraine do not disclose any casualty figures, and in the interest of maintaining a totally anti-Russian media balance, Western sources also make no such speculations as to the number of Ukrainians killed. As for the equipment lost, Ukraine is fortunate to have a number of NATO member states, including Canada, that are willing to furnish Ukraine with the means necessary to continue fighting. By all indicators, the Ukrainian military is actually stronger now than they were at the start of the war. Canadian troops were able to resume training Ukrainian soldiers in the UK, and presently we have Armored Corps trainers putting Ukrainian crews through their paces on the Leopard 2 tanks, which we donated to the Ukraine war effort. Those Leopard 2s, along with British-donated Challenger tanks and US-supplied M1 Abrams, are expected to spearhead the long-awaited spring counteroffensive by Ukraine. Which brings us to the next advantage held by the Ukrainian military. They are defending or attempting to recapture their own territory. This gives them a decided edge when it comes to maintaining their morale and their resolve. For the Russian military, what is extraordinary is the fact that they have yet to completely collapse. The frontline combat troops, which were employed in the initial invasion, were the cream of the crop. These were the professional formations that were to have been completely overhauled following Russia's disappointing performance during the incursion into South Ossetia and Georgia in the summer of 2008. However, despite the fact that Putin invested trillions of rubles, amounting to almost 4% of Russia's GDP, it did not take long for the truth to emerge once the war began. It appears that corrupt generals and officials skimmed the intended military budget for personal use, and as a result, the Russian war machine was in fact a dud. However, these soldiers were still the elite. Their equipment, now destroyed, was the best Russia had. Now Putin has called up 300,000 reluctant reservists to fight along the notorious Wagner Group mercenaries with a dwindling stock of aging weaponry drawn from mothballed Cold War arsenals. It would seem that after 15 months of fighting, the tables have been reversed, and it is the Russian military that has become the snowball in this equation. Now it is simply a question of when the Ukrainian military will unleash their NATO-supplied hell upon them. This has been On Target. I'm Scott Taylor.